Hello, everyone. This is the Free American Press with your host, Alexander Horat. And today we're going to talk about something that's very disturbing that's happening to America, and that is socialism coming to the United States. If you enjoy our content and want to keep seeing amazing guests and insightful conversations, please like this video, share it with friends, and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can contribute through Zelle or Venmo. Every little bit helps me continue bringing you interesting guests and great content. Thank you so much for your support. We just saw a socialist elected to the New York City's mayor, and also a socialist elected to the Seattle mayor. So those are two very powerful cities in the United States. And basically, New York is now led by a Muslim socialist, and now Seattle's led by a very socialist lady. So let's talk about socialism a little bit in the United States and some aspects of it. But before we get into that, I would just like to say this. In socialism, they merely take the milk from the cow, and in communism, they take the cow itself. So that's the differences between socialism and communism. If there is much of a difference, honestly, they still take the stuff from you. Uh, so we have many socialist aspects in the United States already. We have basically the public school system, which is very bad in a large degree. They're teaching the kids nonsense in a lot of different fields. In the math, their testing isn't as nearly as good as private schools. Uh, so we see that people will basically pay property taxes, and that's a socialist way for to run the public school system. So we've seen that. So there's many parts of the United States that are socialist because socialists are basically the government taking place, basically taking over parts of the private workforce and making it so the government runs it. Or they do private partnerships with corporations, and they basically allow these corporations to do the things with the backing of the government. So that's how socialism works. Basically, communism is when they take the control of the company, they take the control of the company completely. They don't allow the company to work hand in hand with the government. So that's a big difference. So what I kind of view as the ideal thing for people to have is more of a libertarian view. Basically, we have the government away from us. We can do our own free private enterprise. We can have capitalism, which is the free exchange of goods and services in a market that's not regulated by the government as much. So that's kind of the ideal part of capitalism. So I think we should move back to that. That's what America was founded on, like Adam Smith's theory, the wealth of nations, and I think that's a very good thing. I think we need to move away from this European socialism and communism because just look what communism did in Stalin's time. It killed millions of people. The redistributing of farms and everything like that killed millions of people. And who got rich from communism? Well, the politicians did. Stalin got very wealthy from it, and his cronies got very wealthy from it. And we've seen the same thing in Venezuela as well, where cronies basically have gotten more and more rich from the communism. Like I think Hugo Chavez's daughter is one of the richest women in South America, which is pretty crazy because she hasn't worked, she hasn't been part of a company. She just has all that wealth that was stolen. So it's crazy to me that we're moving towards the socialist tendencies. And actually, I want to share the screen to show you something. Uh, so, okay, right here, progressive on the edge to win Seattle mayor race. Of course, we talked about that. But what does the term Nazi stand for? So, this is the people that these socialists are supposed to be against, these Democrats. And it's actually called the National Socialist German Workers' Party. So, the Nazis were socialists, and that's basically, they say we're against socialists, we're against the Nazis, like Antifa, like we're against that. But an unfortunate thing is no, they're for big government. They're like the Nazis who wanted big government, unquestionable authority to big government. And unfortunately, many of the Republicans are for big government as well. They want to keep increasing the spending. They want to keep increasing control over our lives with things like basically just controlling us. with more taxes. And I think we need to let free enterprise. I'm really thankful for people like Ron Paul, uh, and the Liberty Movement and Thomas Massey. I think they're really good people, at least compared to everybody else that have been fighting for freedom and fighting for less government control over our everyday lives. So I think we need more people like that in Congress. And unfortunately, the people's bread is buttered by Walmart, big corporations like Walmart. I looked in the state senate here in California specifically, and some of the top donators were Walmart was the number one, and then PG&E, which is supposed to be a private company, but now it's like a private public company with the electric utilities in California as one the other big donator. So we see these big companies donating both to Republicans and Democrats as their top donators, basically to increase their corporate power over America, and basically you do that in lockstep with the government. So I think that's what the United States is turning towards is a socialist state. I think communism, they're not quite turning to that, but we could see more. That will happen more as time goes on, though. So I think we're seeing a big reversal of what the founders intended here in the United States. But I think we can change that. I think we can make the United States better. I think we can get rid of socialism and communism and come out with a better way. And there's some small ways that you can start fighting against socialism, and that's like homeschooling your kids. If you have kids, you can homeschool them so they're not part of the state, that they're learning from the state basically every day. And so that's one way you can fight the system. You can vote for people who are against taxes and want to increase regulations over your life. And you can vote for people who have more of a libertarian mindset, who want to increase freedom and want to have people grow. And I find it very funny that they say, oh, the Nazis were far right and the communists were far left. But I think both of those ideologies were far wrong, because they're both about the government getting bigger and stronger and basically having the everyday man basically saddled with taxes. And I was going to talk about this later, but basically, now we're seeing that the president wants to have a $2,000 stimulus check from money that he's made on the tariffs. So basically, he's redistributing our wealth that he's made through the tariffs to give everybody a $2,000 check within an income bracket. But what most people don't understand is how much government wastes. For every dollar they spend, they waste a large amount of money. So it's not like private enterprise that's very efficient with money. At least a good private enterprise is efficient with money. Of course, if it's a bad enterprise, it wouldn't be very efficient with money, and they would go out of business. But the government can't go out of business because of the way things are set up. They can print the money, however much money they want to prop up their government, but it's eventually going to fail. But we've been seeing this happen. So now they want to do the stimulus check. That's a large part of socialism, communism type thinking. Like, why don't we just have no tariffs so people can buy things that they want without so many government taxes? Like, what, like you're saying, it's just crazy to me that they're doing this. And this is basically putting people more reliant on the government, which they want. One of the first things Hitler did was actually get everybody off of private health care. They made public health care. Basically, they wanted the government to control your doctor, your most trusted advisor. And we've seen that happen in the United States already. So we're on a fast track towards socialism and communism, unfortunately, throughout the world. And they just use these two sides, communism and socialism, to fight. And they're fighting. And it's basically order through chaos. They basically want two sides, Republican and Democrat, to always be fighting, fighting. But in the end, they're just all marching towards the same goal. And basically, you have the illusion of choice, but unfortunately, you're just choosing the same person and the same ideology, which I think is terrible for the people in the United States, and I think it's a shame. And I think this is something we all need to look into. We need all to vote appropriately. And if you feel that you're a good person to run for office, please do, because we really need, unfortunately, government office attracts bad people. So we need to get good people out there to run for office to try to win elections. Uh, and we also need to be a voice in our community to stop the socialism, communist ideology that's coming out of our public schools and universities. So I would just like to thank you all for watching this video. Please subscribe to the channel if you found it interesting. And thanks again for watching. I hope you all have a good day. Oh, and please comment as well. That would be great. And please share the video with your friends. Thank you again for watching. Goodbye.